Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. It's Friday after all, and that's my excuse. And a little bit chilly, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. I like this photograph from the roaming giraffe. Good morning from a gorgeous dawn, Zambia. Certainly looks gorgeous. If I could put in a brief interlude about some macro thoughts. On the 12th of September, I said my second trade of the year is to buy put options on 10-year bonds, because this is going to pop. And when it pops, the wizardry won't work anymore, and at that moment there's going to be one heck of a move. Well, we've seen part of it. Take a look at this from Market Outperform, US yield curve steepening 10-year, 2.29%, a 2016 high, 2-year, 1.04%, a 2016 high. And in that article I went back to Hotel California, mirrors on the ceiling, the pink champagne on ice. And she said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man. We are programmed to receive. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. What is clear, I said, is that we're at the fag end of this party. Home thoughts, the rains have come, and with it a chilly breeze. And if you leave your window open at night, like I am wont to do, until Nishad says, what about bats? My neighbour used to sleep on his veranda at night, and sometimes I used to go and have a look. And it's been so wonderful and silvery of late, because of the supermoon, of course. And I was marvelling a couple of nights ago at how far I could see. Then I recalled Karen Blixen, who said many wonderful things. She lived in the Gong Hills, and I can see them from my office. It's like 5 knuckles. You have sort of 5 little peaks. You can hardly call them that. I have a feeling that wherever I may be in the future, I will be wondering whether there is rain at Ngong. This is a letter she wrote her mother in February 1919. Well, there's been some. And she says this about a safari, which both Hannah and I enjoy immensely. There is something about a safari life that makes you forget all your sorrows and feels as if you'd drunk half a bottle of champagne, bubbling over with heartfelt gratitude for being alive. And then one of my favorite pieces, which is on page 196 of Out of Africa. And this is how the weather feels at the moment. The early morning air of the African highlands is of such a tangible coldness and freshness that time after time the same fancy there comes back to you. You are not on earth, but in dark, deep waters going ahead along the bottom of the sea. It is not even certain that you are moving at all. The flows of chilliness against your face may be deep-sea currents, and your car, like some sluggish electric fish, may be sitting steadily upon the bottom of the sea, staring in front of her with the glaring eyes of her lamps, and letting the submarine life pass by here. The stars are so large because they are not real stars, but reflections shimmering upon the surface of the water. Alongside your path on the sea bottom, live things darker than their surroundings keep on appearing, jumping up and sweeping into the long grass as crabs and beach fleas will make their way into the sand. The lights get clearer, and about sunrise the sea bottom lifts itself towards the surface. A new created island, worlds of smells drift quickly past you. Fresh, rank smells of the olive bushes, the brine scent of burnt grass, a sudden quelling smell of decay. Have a look at this photograph, dawn colours at Old Pajetta Conservancy. Can you see Mount Kenya in the background? And then one last quote from out of Africa. People who dream when they sleep at night know of a special kind of happiness, which the world of the day holds not, a placid ecstasy and ease of heart that are like honey on the tongue. They also know that the real glory of dreams lies in their atmosphere of unlimited freedom. It is not the freedom of the dictator who enforces his own will on the world, but the freedom of the artist who has no will, who is free of will. The pleasure of the true dreamer does not lie in the substance of the dream, but in this, that there things happen without any interference from his side and altogether outside his control. Great landscapes create themselves, long splendid views, rich and delicate colours, roads, houses, which he has never seen or heard of. I came across a review of Paul Theroux's The Last Train to Zona Verde, which is a fantastic book. He takes the train from, I think, Cape Town, somewhere in South Africa, and then goes up through Angola and Namibia. At one point he writes about a subgroup of Kung people who call themselves Juhansi, a clucking, hard to pronounce name, meaning real people or harmless people. I was ducking among thorn bushes with slender, golden-skinned people who were the earth's oldest folk, boasting a traceable lineage to the dark backward and abysm of time in the upper Pleistocene, 35,000 years or so ago, the proven ancestors of us all, the true aristocrats of the planet. Theroux continues, the young woman in front of me dropped to her knees in the sand and began digging. Within a minute she extracted a finger-shaped tuber. Smiling, she offered the first bite to me. I passed it back and it was shared equally. A nibble each, 9 bites in the forests, deserts and hillsides across the world. Foraging people like the Juhansi are scrupulous about sharing food. It is this sharing in their communal life that binds them together. Doesn't feel like we live in that era anymore, do we? The photographic highlight of my 2 hours with a black leopard, that's David Yarrow. I like this photograph of Meru by Roots of Africa. Business says for the super rich, the bathroom must have a stunning view too. I must say, in some of these places we visited around Kenya, they have these outdoor showers. You just have these sort of stars above you and it's a warm shower. It's fantastic. Winter's coming. Emirates Airlines A380 seen here at Moscow Domodedovo International Airport. Beautiful photo, indeed it is. More than a week after his election, Trump still had not spoken to a single leader from sub-Saharan Africa. Ivanka Trump sat in on her father's meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, as per the handout photograph. Japanese Prime Minister Abe expresses confidence in Donald Trump after meeting. Australia's Prime Minister called Trump to congratulate him after the golfer Greg Norman gave him Trump's phone number. ICC prosecutor Bensouda, Russia not cooperating, but Georgia investigation will continue and will find other ways to obtain evidence. The speed with which members are bailing out of the ICC is quite extraordinary. The reasons for it, of course, are not what they might appear. Obama to meet Merkel in Germany. He met her top trade partner and ally. I could not ask for a steadier, more reliable partner on the world stage, he said, Chancellor Merkel. The photographs spoke to an intimacy of friendship. It was quite incredible. The ones that have come out of yesterday's events. And Mark Noller, who follows the president and is a photographer, said, now the hard part, rolling up the red carpet. I thought to myself, for Obama and Merkel, certainly, I think Merkel's in desperate trouble given the tidal wave of this zeitgeist that's crossing the world. An Iraqi Special Forces 2nd Division fighting vehicle is seen moving in the Samar neighborhood of Mosul. Dramatic photograph from AFP. Truth and love will overcome lies and hatred. Vaclav Havel. Yesterday was the anniversary of the Velvet Revolution in 1989. Saudi Arabia is ISIS's used car dealer. This is Dr. Bashar al-Jafari. Pointed out to a report by Toyota that was issued based on a request by Syria and Russia, which apparently showed photos of cars supplied to ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Reports show that Toyota sold 60,000 four-wheel drive cars to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Emirates and Jordan. These cars ended up in the possession of ISIS. An early lesson from President-elect Donald Trump's transition team didn't cross Jared Kushner. My piece, of course, over the weekend was Here Comes President Trump. I said he was an insurgent candidate in his Make America Great Again movement, similarly an insurgent movement. I also said we're watching a populist wave or zeitgeist. Some have characterized it as a white lash, which has now swept the United Kingdom and the US and as Italy, France and the Netherlands, all in its crosshairs. Europe at risk of collapse. France, Germany must lead. This is the French Prime Minister. I'll put up a photograph of him when he went to see President Mahama of Ghana. In that same article about Trump, I quoted Beppe Grillo. This is the deflagration of an epoch. It's the apocalypse of this information system, he said. Traditional media has lost its position of control. It's been upended by the internet, which allowed insurgent politics to broadcast over the top. And of course, President Trump proved a linguistic warfare specialist with devastating effect. Crooked Hillary, Lying Ted, Little Marco, Low Energy Jeb were devastating. Regarding foreign policy, I think, to triangulate China still seems to be his main intention, from what I can gather. The US needs Russia on its side and not on China's. I think quantitative easing is now a busted flush. And from an economic and trade perspective, I expect Trump to be much more aggressive with China. I think QE is a bust. Remember, a vast swathe of the pro-Brexit and pro-Trump camps were the older white folks who have seen their savings evaporate in the world of negative interest rates. This is the point. They want to return on their savings, and Theresa May and Trump get that. The bond markets get it as well. Counterpunch, there's an article, Trumponomics, it's not all crazy. And I agree with that. I like the tax-cutting agenda. My theory remains, and interestingly was validated a few years ago in Russia, that when you reduce taxes to a level that folks feel is just and equitable, the tax take surges because it's just more convenient to pay it. The infrastructure spend is long overdue. Higher interest rates are going to propel a big dollar rally from here on in, and it's only just getting going. Emerging market currencies, which took a big tumble last week, are set to crater, I'm afraid. Then I closed off that article with a transcript from the Sidney Lumet movie Network. You think you merely stopped a business deal? This is not the case. The Arabs have taken billions of dollars out of this country, and now they must put it back. It is ebb and flow, tide and gravity. It is ecological balance. Marvelous movie. Do take a look. It's not the big fish eating the small fish, but the fast fish eating the slow fish. John Bolton, who's still being considered for the Secretary of State position, said this to Breitbart News Daily. The Ayatollahs are the principal threat to international peace and security in the Middle East. Now, their ouster won't bring sweetness and light to the region, that's for sure, but it will eliminate the principal threat. Interesting. Let's move on. As I said over the weekend, higher interest rates are going to propel a big dollar rally from here on in, and it's only just getting going, and indeed I think it is. Bloomberg is saying how Donald Trump could exacerbate a global shortage of US dollars. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar below 106 at 105.93. Dollar index above 101, 101.17. Japanese yen 110.66, Swiss franc 100.81, the pound 124.08, the Australian dollar 73.77, India rupee 68.095, South Korean won 1180.85, The Real 343.41, Egyptian pound softening 16.0265, and the Rand 14.4646. Now, obviously the dollar's gotten a lot stronger. The dollar index has jumped to the highest level since 2003. I upgraded my target, which has been struck now, which was 100 for eternity. We looked as if we weren't going to get anywhere near it. Now I think we're going to 110 on this dollar index. Dollar is heading for its best 2 weeks versus the yen since the 1980s. Commodity markets, let's take a look at the price of gold. 1205, rejected that 1300 level and it's got slammed down. Crude oil, let's take a look. $45.23. This is ahead of OPEC. I don't think there's going to be any joy coming out of that. Emerging market equities did not like the election result. We've seen them sell off. Have a look at this. Bank of Mexico raised rates 50 basis points, yet failed to lift the peso as US Treasury yields and dollar extended gains. Frontier markets, new photos of an uncontacted Brazilian tribe marked the first sighting in over a year. Images show the tribe members inside a circular communal structure known as a maloca. And then I like this photograph from Carmel Valley, a residence from a Twitter handle called Architecture. Sub-Saharan Africa, Le Point Afrique, Sommet Africain, les dirigeants africains donner le ton. I'll leave you to translate that. And then I like this photograph of patrol with French Mirage 2000D and Mirage 2000C aircraft over the Sahel, Niger, Bakani. Bond notes, a complete disaster for Zimbabwe, says Professor Hankey. They are another currency, but very low quality. They're definitely currency. Anything you can use to purchase something with is a currency. You know they are inferior from day one because government is in a way arguably offering a subsidy for people to take the bond notes, which means the bond notes are trading at a discount to the dollar even before they start circulating. When Mugabe signed the papers for the bond notes, he signed his death warrant. This might be the end. And it's been at the edge for quite a while, hasn't it? Hunter S. Thompson described the age as no honest way to explain it because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Congo's Kabila names an opposition member as a new prime minister. Put up a photograph of Sami Badibanga. He's been appointed. By appointing Badibanga, Kabila proves that he's not really interested in elections. He only wants to avoid further sanctions and decrease the potential for street violence on December the 19th. President Zuma, of course, on 14th of December 2015, I said the markets are not very interested in his explanations. They're seeing a South African president who's gone rogue. Daily Maverick asked, Zuma's Abraham's move a legal smokescreen or pawn sacrifice? And I said pawn sacrifice because everyone is a pawn except the president. South African all shares minus 0.15% this year. Dollar Rand softening up again. The Rand 14.46 could weaken substantially. The sand is still hot under our feet. The oil thieves must have run the illegal oil refinery, which is hidden from the sea by thickets of mangrove until just a short while ago. Nigeria. In the last 5 years, Nigeria has earned something like $1.5 trillion from oil. The Nigerian all shares minus 10.62% this year. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is minus 16.42% this year. Senegal is proposing to introduce a new national digital currency. Small African country of Senegal is making waves by announcing that it plans to issue a national digital currency utilizing blockchain technology, the same technology that powers Bitcoin. The new digital money, called ECFA, will have legal tender status alongside the traditional CFA franc, paper notes and coins. How interesting. Have a look at this photograph of the Simandu Mountains in Bela, Guinea. Fuel tanker blast in Mozambique has killed 73, injured 110. Oh goodness. Fuel truck explosion in Mozambique. This photograph from CCTV, I don't know if it's what they actually meant, but I did write about Mozambique on the 31st of October, not that I thought this would happen. Mozambique from boom to bust, I said. Vigurugani village in Kinango, Kwale. This is Nyalani Dam. Construction funded by M-Pesa Foundation. Day-to-day running by Kenya Red Cross. Very lovely photograph, I thought. More unemployment as banks retrench 1,000 have lost their jobs in the last 3 months. This is the headline from the Business Daily. And we spoke about this severally post the interest rate capping bill, that it was an inevitable Schumpeter moment. Co-op Bank reported pre-tax Q3 profit up 25%, driven by restructuring reforms to cut costs. South Sudan subsidiary contributed 45 million shillings. Co-op trades on a trading PE of 5.996, and its share price is down 18.61% so far this year. Diamond Trust reported the Q3 pre-tax profit up 25%, 7.8 billion shillings. Diamond Trust is down 27.54% this year, trades on a trailing PE of 5.446. Very interesting in-depth interview with Michael Joseph in the Business Daily, how we plan to steady the ship and fly KQ back to profitability. Lots of interesting points. He's on top of his brief. That's why the share price has rallied. Interesting quote, "I am waiting for McKinsey to deliver the goods," he said. Airline stocks in the US are at a 52-week high. I think market outperformed for that. Kenya Airways is up 38.77% so far this year. East African Portland Cement is to send 1,000 workers home in a restructuring. Loss-making companies offer the government 2,000 acres of its idle land for 10 billion shillings to be used to turn around its fortunes, including paying for the voluntary retirement program. And a lot of land on the balance sheet. East African Portland Cement is down 52.4% this year. On a classic price-earnings ratio, it's trading at 0.48. The share price is heading towards a 13-year low. The Kenya shilling is at 101.889. I didn't call it the Teflon shilling for no good reason. The Nairobi All-Share is down 3.94% this year. The Nairobi NSE 20 is down 18.73% this year, and I wish you a tremendous weekend.